Today, we have the absolute pleasure of welcoming Mark Miller, founder of Good Foot Developments, onto the virtual red sofa. Hi, Mark. How are you doing?
Yes, thank you very much for your time, Terry, and everybody watching. Appreciate it. Do you like my new glasses? I got these especially for this interview. Well, no, not quite. I got them to make me look intelligent compared to my normal ones. So I hope that works for you, Terry.
Very nice. Now, Mark, we've obviously known each other for a few years, and you lead a very interesting life. Are you able to give us a bit of insight to your background and why Good Foot, why you started it up?
Yeah, sure. I'm very lucky to be not that good at very many things. So I tend to do a lot of different things in an attempt to find something I'm good at. So yeah, you're right. I started off, did I tell you this? I started off as a maths teacher for a couple of years in a comprehensive school, which really sorted me out. And then moved into IT and then decided I want to become a pilot. So I went to train on that, was an instructor for a while, flew with some aerobatics, which I was very privileged to do. Again, not that good at it, but I didn't crash. And then I was freelancing consulting, Terry, in projects. So I thought with the people that I knew could kick that off on our own, which we did. That's about 22 years back. So Good Foot started. Actually, I'll tell you the heart of why it started. It started out of a personal situation where somebody I was working with had cancer. And we decided we'd start a business together in order to build a new future. So it very much started with a purpose, if you like, a meaning to deal with something that was a bit tough, or very tough at the time.
Amazing. Yeah, it's strange how you fall into different walks of life, isn't it?
Yeah, you can never predict what's going to happen to you, can you? And I think I crossed the threshold when I realized, I think it was about 38, a bit later than most. I realized I was prone to make mistakes, and a lot of them. And I kind of faced the fact that I wasn't perfect and I was going to make more and more mistakes. And when I actually realized that and accepted that and accepted it in other people as well, I became a better person at that point, I think, Terry.
Yeah, well, you are very much of the journey rather than, you're quite open-minded.
Yeah, because I definitely don't understand most of what's going on. I think that's probably it.
Brilliant. I understand that Good Foot are about building, developing and educating individuals, team leaders and organizations. Can you give us a typical scenario of why people may turn to you?
Yeah, sure. So I was in projects, which was mainly construction projects before I started Good Foot. So we link with construction companies, and typically a construction companies, I love working with construction engineering. I was a builder, I was an IT guy, so I was a builder anyway. But B, in construction, you've got to get it right. Quality standards, safety standards. So you've got to do stuff. You can't just talk about it. So we started to get engaged with teams that weren't performing very well and that could perform better. And largely it was to do with communication, and it was to do with clarity, motivation, using the right talent and developing the right talent. And construction people, as you know, Terry, are really good at the job, but don't have time to think about how do I build my team as much as how do I build my building. Mm-hmm. And increasingly, we're finding out that the ability for the manager to know psychology and to know how to build. The Army are brilliant at this. The Army know exactly how to build incredibly good teams that get stuff done. And it requires effort and attention. So where we typically get asked to get involved is in getting people to be more productive, getting businesses to be more successful, because there is an art and there is a science to getting people to be productive.
Mm-hmm. So on that note, then, with people being productive and part of teams and organizations, as you know, obviously recently, because of what's happened with COVID, etc., people are working from home more. How is that? Is that a benefit? How is that affecting organizations, individuals, both from a wellness point of view, from a productivity point of view? And how do you see that will pan out in sort of the next sort of 12 months? Are we still in the early stage of it and enjoying it? And will we go back?
Yeah, it's great. It's a great question. And it's fascinating. And the answer, again, life being is not what you think. We thought in the early days of COVID and lockdown, working at home, that people were going to go nuts, and that they were They were getting isolated, and there was that element to start with. I was talking to somebody last week though, and they said, look, I love working from home, and I've proved to my boss that our productivity as a team has nearly doubled. We proved that with the stats.
Nice.
But the bosses are insisting now that we come back into work. And he says, I'm just going to just say, fine, I'll come into work, but that's 4 hours a week travel time. I'm not going to work for you anymore. I'll just be traveling. And it's stupid. And the bosses are finding the problem now. The bosses got this shock of, are you going to listen to people and the way they work, or are you just going to carry on the way that you think as bosses you should be working?
Yeah.
So some bosses say you should be working at home. Others are saying you should be working in the office. What we're finding is that people generally want to do a good job and generally know the best way to work. So what's going to happen in the next 12 months? I think there's a shock. It's not through well-being so much as management listening to people and asking them to work out together the best way to work. And that's the shock to the system, because actually the managers don't know the answers to this. The people that are doing it know the answers. And the big thing I've noticed again is people really want to do it. You've seen the stats, Terry, about people, the productivity and the amount of hours people are doing because they're at home. People want to do a good job.
Yeah.
And if we assume they do, there's a great discussion to be had.
No, definitely. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to how that develops and pans out then. So you talk about, within your website and through conversation we've had, you talk about facilitating personal growth and enabling individuals to better their own development, which then can in turn help organizations. So that's just coming on from what you just said, basically. Yeah. So can you give some more detail on that?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I work in a small business with less than 20 people. And we've always, because of the start, which was personal and shocking with the cancer situation, it's always been about, well, what life do you want to live? And if you live that life in your work, and if you fulfill what you could do, by default, we'll make loads of money together. And I think a lot of business owners got it the wrong way around. They're thinking of making money instead of fulfilling the individuals. When you fulfill the individuals, they make money for you. Yeah. And if you read Carnegie all the way back to, how to win friends and influence people and all this old stuff, which is actually spot on stuff. And if you can, as a business owner, decide I'm going to enable my people to have fulfilled lives, that is their potential, their skills, their timing, their well-being, you get so much more work out of them and the company will do better. So many examples. I was reading one this week about a company totally and utterly turned around because the CEO realized that people hated him because he wasn't listening to them, and he's tripled his turnover in a year because he just listened. So the reason for developing people isn't just because of some nice training thing, it's to make money. And if we listen to people and grow their skill set, the business gets better. But a lot of bosses are insecure about that. They don't want to let go of control. They want to be the ones with all of the answers. And the answer is none of us have got all the answers. Yeah. So it's down to the people. Once we can get people wanting to do it, wanting to work for us, sky's the limit. And that's where it really grows.
So do you try and help change the mindset of the business owners, the leaders, to think differently?
Yeah, it's a really fascinating point, Terry, because the whole purpose, of course, we all know this by theory, don't we? That if we can get all the team around us to perform to their best, the organization by default makes loads of money. That's the purpose. And I think so many business owners have got it the wrong way around. They're focusing on, I've got to make money. How do I do that? Which I agree, short-term cash flow. I've been there and am there sometimes. You've got to do that. Yes. But medium to long term, it's got to be, well, how do I make each individual as productive as possible? Because then if you add it all up, then the organization by default makes a load of money. So the emphasis of the training is always on enabling participants on events and training courses to reach their potential. Mm-hmm. And their potential of being able to make decisions, work quickly, liaise with customers properly, negotiate deals, whatever it is, run teams. Why? Because if they fulfill their potential, the organization is so much more productive. And we'll find that leaders that want that to happen, their companies grow quicker. So many examples. There was one I was reading last week of a guy who's tripled the turnover of his company, a CEO who found out that his staff didn't like him. and they didn't like him because he wasn't listening, and he just swallowed humble pie and said, okay, what do I do then? So he embarked on a listening exercise. Turnovers tripled in a year. So there's some very simple things to get right. And the biggest dilemma is the ego of those of us who run businesses think we've got to have all of the answers. And when you uncover the potential of individuals, you find they contribute. And sometimes we don't know the answers, but they do. And that's the trick.
Very fascinating. I see on your website that you offer a wide range of training solutions and talk about how you give a clear return on investment. Can you discuss this in more detail? Because I think people are unsure about that investment against investment.
Yeah. And we've done it a number of ways, Terry. I just say to people quite often, you know, if we don't get you the money that you're paying for this training, you can have it straight back. I don't want paying unless we're making you money. Big organizations and small ones. We've got a lot of tools. I'll give you a quick stat that on average with management training, we return about 7 times the cost of the training. That's in time and money. And measurement of sales training is about 22 times the cost of the training comes back. And the business owners have got to be reassured by any investment they make that it's worth the money, it's coming back. And training and development is part of that investment thinking. So you measure, and one of the things you measure, you can measure sales quite clearly. You can measure money saved by reduction of mistakes or reduction of repeating the wheel. Risks avoided. There are major surveys we've done with clients where we ask people, from what the training shows you, now what mistakes do you think you avoided? And then we get an estimate, and we take 1/10 of that estimate. We take 1/10 of it, Terry, and it comes out on average to about 7 times the cost of the training is saved through not making mistakes because they've been trained in management techniques, customer handling techniques, bidding, selling, delivery skills, project management, etc. So measurement's really, really, really important for me. In the end, it becomes a no-brainer, and a company gets it. They go, if I equip my people, they'll return so much more back. I don't really need to measure it anymore. But in the early days, measurements are kind of a reassurance, I think.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you for that. Are there any new developments happening within Goodfoot that you feel that we should know about in 2022 and beyond?
Yeah, thanks, Terry. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share a bit about what we're doing. We were caught by COVID, and we thought we've got to get smarter here and deliver digitally much better. We did a little bit of digital delivery. We're now doing loads of digital delivery. As you can imagine, I'm coaching people in Hong Kong, for example, digitally, obviously, because I'm not from Hong Kong, sadly. But they're quite happy with it, and France and Europe. We're running team sessions digitally with up to 80 people, and they're working. We're now back in face-to-face in London and again in Europe. I'll tell you what we're missing, and we're learning that we're missing. So to answer your question about next year, is that middle bit where people go away, they learn on their own, and they prepare themselves. They go through some e-learning, if you like. They get some real basics. They get some feedback, and then they go into some tutor environment, some digital or face-to-face. So what's missing in our offering, which we're building next year, is self-study remote learning.
Okay.
If you like, e-learning. But we know, and we're not going to say, I'm not going to tell you what we're actually going to do, but we believe we know how to make it really, really good and really interesting, not just sign on, click, answer the question, or you scored 3 out of 10, well done, but something dynamic, personality driven, fun, light, but it really tests your knowledge, gives you a good set of foundations. You can stop there, or you could go on to further training if you wanted. So remote learning, Terry, is our call for 2022, is it, next year?
So watch your space then.
I know, yeah. We've got a bit of work to do to develop that, but that's on the way.
Well, that was Mark Miller. Mark, thank you so much, founder of Goodfoot Developments. And you can find out more about Mark and his team and the solutions that they provide at goodfoot.co.uk. Thank you, Mark.
That's great. Thank you. I'd love to talk to anybody, and don't worry, we're not solicitors. We don't start clocking the bill when we start talking. Just love to talk to people, offer ideas and thoughts. If we can help at all, just call.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Terry. Appreciate it.